Good morning. Good morning, our Asphalt Life community and all of our Atlas contractors and listening audience. So excited about our June. It's June. Wow. Our June webinar this month. Thanks for all of you guys who take out an hour of your time so that we can jump on and have conversations about really valuable opportunities to build your businesses. And so this is Tiara Cersei. I'm the marketing and digital content manager here at Atlas. And as always, I'm always excited to join our valued contractors every month for this webinar. So if this is your first time, welcome. And if this is not your first time on a webinar, welcome back. Super excited about our webinar today. We got some really cool stuff to talk about. A certification, Build Fortified Tough, learning how to become a Fortified Roof certified contractor. Got those words mixed up, but yeah, so it's very exciting. And we have the best of the best on today. I'm super excited. We actually have a quorum of panelists and moderators, and this is nice. It's not just me talking the whole time. So good morning to, first of all, I just want to say good morning to all of you guys, but definitely good morning to our partners from Fortified Roofing. We got Fred Malik on, as well as Mark from IBHS. So good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tiara.
Good morning. And then on the Atlas side, I'm super excited. Most of you guys have seen him, and if you've attended an Atlas event or you have heard him on anything product related, but I'm excited to have Paul Casari on. Paul's our product manager here at Atlas, and he is in part a big part of the brain behind really things that you guys value, things like HP 42, the bigger, better shingle, right? So Paul was the brainchild behind that. Storm Core 4, Paul was an instrumental part of that. And so Paul is the brains of our products, and I'm super excited to have you on, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning, Tiara. Good morning, Asphalt Lifers.
Good morning. And then Paul is also the star of our online series, Hammer Time with Paul. So if you guys have seen Hammer Time with Paul, if you haven't checked it out, jump on YouTube and check out that series. It's very cool. It goes through how-tos, practical installation tips and tricks for contractors. So lots of good people on as moderators, and they'll be talking to you about some really cool opportunities with the Fortified certification program. If you have not caught up yet, you cannot talk back to me, but you can chat to me. So if you are in here and you can hear us, go ahead and pop something in your chat bar and say good morning to us. Let us know that you're out there and you can hear us really good. And then let us know where you're from and if it's your first time listening. Good morning, Alicia. Hey, William. Good morning, Ronald. Thanks for jumping on. Glad to have you guys on. Good morning, Kathleen. Glad to have you on. Hey, Heather. Good morning. Hey, Mississippi. Good morning, Anthony. What's up? Glad you guys are on this morning. First time. So glad you're on, William. Hopefully you'll learn something and join us for another webinar. Cool. So lots of you guys are first timers, it looks like. Lots of you guys, which is a really good thing. We host these webinars every month. So every month we put out something on social media. You'll get an email and it'll have a webinar. You can definitely keep up with all the things that we're doing through our website, which is atlasroofing.com. And then all of our content, all of our webinars that we host each month are posted afterwards on Asphalt Life, which is our community portal. It's our online community for all things Live, Roof, Play. So I just chatted the link out to you. If you haven't heard, if you don't know, check out Asphalt Life. Some really cool things happening on there lots of trainings. All the Hammer Time with Paul videos are there. So lots of great resources on there. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about one of the most exciting things for this year that Atlas is launching, which is our Roof It Right sweepstakes. So lots of you guys have been asking, have been seeing a lot of cool things around Mike Holmes and the Mike Holmes initiative. And so guess what? We are actually, you can enter as of today to win a an all expense paid trip to Toronto and actually hang out with Mike Holmes, hang out with his kids, have an ultimate asphalt life weekend getaway. And then the best part is that you're actually going to jump on a video with Mike Holmes and talk about your business and how you're making it right in your market. So really excited about this. Go to our website at atlasroofing.com/pro or jump on the link that I provided in here at Asphalt Life and read more about it. But great opportunity to really promote your brand. If you don't know, Mike Holmes is for over 15 years has been a TV host on HGTV network as well as the DIY network. So a lot of really cool stuff from Mike Holmes. Homeowners trust this man. And so if you don't see value in getting the ears and eyes of your homeowners, then this may not be the promotion for you. But definitely if you see that value of being able to jump on camera with somebody that homeowners trust, this is a great opportunity to leverage your brand. So lots of really cool things happening there, and be sure to go to atlasroofing.com/pro and click on the enter to win and get entered to win. We'll be giving away that trip to 5 finalists. So very excited about that. Anywho, I'll stop blabbing and let's talk a little bit about what we're talking about today, which is this exciting Fortified Roof certification program. Let's go through the agenda.
Sorry, I'm not doing my job. There we go.
All good. So today, really cool stuff. We want to talk about what Fortified is and why, right? What is the why behind this Fortified program from IBHS? How they reach the market, how we go to market with this program, what's in it for me, right? That's a big part of why you're on this cause, because you want to figure out how can I really leverage this in my market. And then what is Fortified? We'll talk about the Atlas products that you're already installing every day that you can continue to install that are actually already a part and certified as a part of their system. And then we're going to figure out how your customers how your customers get a Fortified roofing certificate. So once you've opted into the program and done the training, what is that consumer portion of it? We'll give you some free resources and then we'll have some Q&A. As always, on all of our webinars, you can always feel free to pop a question in through the chat bar. If you're on your iPad, you're on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see a little heart there. I always say, if you like it, give us some hearts. If you like what you're hearing, give us some hearts. Let us know that you can hear us and that you're engaging. All right, so cool. Let's go through Fred and talk about Fred and Mark. So Fred is the managing director for Fortified Building Products. He's been a building contractor for over 25 years, and he's the leader of the Fortified team for over 9 years. So very valued on the team, and Fred is going to bring a wealth of experience to this webinar. He's put in a lot of legwork to get a really tight presentation for you guys today. So I think you'll take a lot of value out of it. Mark is actually the hands and eyes, as I understand it, of the Fortified program. He's out there doing these trainings. He is a roofing professional. He's been in the industry for over 39 years, and he leads the roofer, supplier, distributor, and manufacturing outreach efforts. So when you get to the training, look for this guy, Mark. He's awesome and is a really valued team member for Fortified. So now I'm going to pass it off to you, Fred, and looking forward to a great webinar.
Well, thank you, Tiara, and thank you, Paul, and welcome to all you folks from Atlas. We are excited to be here and to have an opportunity to talk with you. Mark and I both recognize Atlas as a quality producer with good contractors. We have several. Some of them we'll even mention today that are already putting on fortified roofs, and we always have a good experience with folks that come to us through Atlas. So we're pleased to talk with you today and share a bit of information, and hopefully, as Tiara said, you'll see some value and ask some good questions, and we'll see how we can work together. So we want to start off by addressing, why are we here? What are we trying to do? And IBHS as an organization is the parent organization that originates Fortified Home and Fortified Roof, and our company exists really to find ways to limit suffering and loss as a result of natural disasters. And we know from our work that most homeowners worry about their homes. They're concerned that their homes are going to get damaged by severe weather, and that if their home gets damaged, the things that are inside their home will get damaged. And what we have to offer, and what you guys can offer to your customers, is a system that enhances roof performance to help avoid stress and financial loss. And let's take a look at a little bit what that looks like. Stress is an avoidable consequence of natural disasters. If you pay attention to certain details and you address systems that are out there and exposed to weather every day, all day, we can really reduce stress. But let's talk about what that looks like when you're at the kitchen table and you're explaining what you do and why you do it the way you do it. These are the kinds of things that you can address. This homeowner here had a home that was severely damaged, and he was forced out for over a year. And he really crystallizes what that can look like. If you're a homeowner and you're used to living in a multi-bedroom house, and you're spreading out, and you're forced to go into a 2-bedroom house in a really small footprint for months to a year, the stress can really become challenging and unbearable. And especially when somebody takes into consideration that if I had done something just a little bit different when I had the opportunity, I could have avoided it altogether. And here's a statistic that, based on our research, we've gleaned that when a roof cover gets damaged and the underlayment also gets damaged and exposes the roof deck, 60% of the water that hits that deck is going inside the house, amplifying damage. And we'll talk about what the financial costs look like in just a second. But some of the things that we're going to talk about today that are included in the fortified system, like the sealed roof deck, are designed and have been tested to reduce the water intrusion by over 95%. And one of the things that we're excited to tell you and share with you today is some of the Atlas products that can be used to meet the system's requirements and provide that extra benefit for your clients. So let's talk a little bit about financial loss. What does that look like? Well, we've done some studies, we've done some testing, looking at the different things that are in the Fortified program, and the roof system that we're going to tell you about a bit more about today, and you'll have an opportunity to come learn more about at a formal training class to get to earn a Fortified Wise Roofer credential. Is things like sealing the roof deck, making sure the roof deck stays attached, using some different underlayments. But what we want you to take away is that, as you can see from the screen here, if the roof system gets damaged, the water that comes in through that damaged roof system can amplify the loss by 2 to 3 times. So if we can improve the combination of things that are used to put that system together and keep the water out of the building, we can save people a lot of stress and financial consequence.
That's a great point, Fred. I think it may be helpful to explain a little bit about what sealed means, like,
sure,
for you guys.
Yeah, and that's, I'm glad you brought that up, but we can talk about that a little bit later in the presentation too, when we talk about some of the things that are available. But you'll notice in this picture here, on the left-hand side, you can see tape on the deck. That was the only thing that was done differently to that's left side of that house. It was standard underlayment and standard shingles. And then on the right side, there is no tape on the seams. And so what we're talking about is not necessarily sealing the deck so it can't ventilate. We're only really talking about covering the areas where if the underlayment is damaged, that the water will come in through the house. So if you are building houses that have, or re-roofing houses that have attic ventilation through ridge vents or off ridge vents, those things are still okay. What we're really after is keeping the water from entering in through the gaps in the decking, should they become exposed.
Great.
All right, so just sort of putting a face to this challenge that is this gentleman here. Mike lived in the home behind him in Mexico Beach. Hurricane Michael came roaring ashore, and you can see he's got pretty significant roof damage as well as some other damage to the facade of his home. And we talked to Mike because he was right around the corner from a homeowner who lived in a fortified home. And we asked him, what would you do, Mike? He said, anything I could do to make sure that me and my family don't have to go through this again, I would do. You'd be crazy not to. And so that's the Mikes of the world are the ones that we're trying to help. And I think through good quality contractors using good products, we have the opportunity to help you guys make a difference in Mike's life and in the life of his neighbors. So an obvious question, Tiara put us through our paces as we were preparing this webinar, asking, how are my guys and gals going to know that Fortified is in their market, and how are homeowners going to know? Well, we're working hard every day to raise the visibility and exposure of Fortified. And one of the ways that we do that is by getting national and local media attention. And just a couple of recent examples. Bloomberg did an article on Fortified, how to build a fortified home, and reached 44 million people. And then CNBC did another talking about not only is it possible to improve how a house performs in these extreme weather conditions, but it doesn't have to be expensive or cost prohibitive. And one of the things that you'll hear today from us is that everything starts with the roof. If we can make some, help people see the value in buying some additional accessories and some additional products, they can really make a significant increase in the resilience of their home. But anyhow, the CNBC article reached 26 million people online and got another 790,000 views. So just in these two articles last month, we reached 66 million people. And we're continuing to do this every opportunity we get. If you're interested, you can go to our website at ibhs.org /in-the-news. And there we have a whole page dedicated to the local and national media attention that we get. I've only shown you 3 examples here on the screen, but there's a whole litany of them. The other cool thing that you can see here is on this website also is our demonstrations. Those videos, should you become a Fortified Wise roofer, those videos are available for you to use in your sales presentations and in your marketing if you'd like to take advantage of those. So that's how we get the word out. And we also work through local stakeholders and local advocates. We support our partners like roofers who are talking about Fortified with collateral and other materials. And so there's lots of different ways we can continue to grow. But these are just some of the things that I wanted to make sure you were aware of.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, you guys, if you're listening on this call and wondering, how much exposure is this program getting to drive homeowners to be aware of it, it's a lot, and, CNBC, MSNBC, ABC, those are large networks that we all kind of watch. And so be sure to take advantage. Fred's going to give an offer at the end. And be sure to take advantage of, filling out that form so you can definitely be in the loop when we launch these certification trainings. So.
All right, thanks, Tiara. And so we wanted to share with you sort of where we where we are today and where we're heading. So over 12,000 families now live with fortified roofs. We'll talk a little bit about some areas that are moving faster in that direction than others. It's because I want to paint a very realistic picture for you, but there's also a tremendous amount of opportunity for you guys to be among the first in your communities, depending on where you live and where you work, to really be a pioneer and to be on the cutting edge in your community, offering fortified roofs. So 12,000 already, and we are adding thousands upon thousands of roofs every single year. One of the things that we do,
Fred says, you know, hey, I live in Minneapolis, so we don't have extreme weather conditions other than occasional tornadoes. So we really don't experience hurricane winds. That would be massive. Can you talk about the value of the program outside of someone who would experience a Hurricane Michael?
Sure. So, you know, we just use large format events like that to illustrate the point, but I will tell you that we study this stuff a lot. I mean, we look at roofs and roof performance across the country, all 48 states, so the lower 48. There is not a place in the country that doesn't experience high winds that damage roofs. We spent a lot of time in Minnesota, as a matter of fact, looking at straight line wind events. I've been on scene a couple of times where there have been straight line wind events that have been exceeded 80, 90 miles an hour, and whole cornfields and roofs and other things are just laid down when those winds occur. So yeah, please don't take away from this that this is only a hurricane resilience. We'll talk a little bit about how we have different standards for different areas of the country, but there really isn't any place in the country that doesn't experience damaging winds. And just to put a statistic behind that, over the last 20 years, there's been something on the order of $720 billion in insured losses across the U.S. Over 400 billion of those those losses are driven by high wind events, and for a period of about 10 years, there wasn't a major landfalling hurricane that contributed to that. So, losses like what we have for severe convective storms and straight line events in the Great Plains and Midwest are damaging homes at an ever increasing rate.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
You bet. So one of the things that we know from talking to folks around the country is that homeowners trust roofers. And so one of the things that we want to do is help you even strengthen that bond with your client. If you guys are sitting at the kitchen table and you're talking about different products and homeowners have questions about, well, what makes sense? What should I put on? When you make recommendations, people listen to that. Now, I know that price is also important, and that's something that needs to be taken into consideration as well. But when you have the opportunity to share with people the types of products that you offer and how you can combine those to deliver a high-performing roof, people take that seriously. And so we want to help you, for lack of a better term, win at the kitchen table. So let's go on here. So like I said, you can be among the first roofers in your community. If you're not seeing a lot of fortified roofing activity in your community, that's just because there's a huge opportunity for you there. And what does that mean? Well, when you become a Fortified Wise roofer and you come through the training, you are then, once you receive the certificate, you are added to our Fortified Roofer directory, which people are more and more using that directory as a way to find folks that can put on fortified roofs. And there's, in addition to being listed in the directory and being able to differentiate yourself from your competition in that way, we also offer some other collateral and advertising opportunities that I'll share with you. But here's a sort of a preview of the special offer that Tiara mentioned. We are working with Atlas to put on a series of Atlas contractor only training in around the country. And so Houston, Tulsa, Mobile, Wilmington, North Carolina, Morehead City, North Carolina. Those are just some of the places that we're looking at and working with Atlas and Paul and his team to bring fortified roofer training to your community. At the end of the webinar, or actually within 24 hours, you're going to get a survey. And if this sounds like something that you're interested in and you're willing to invest 3 to 4 hours of time and just a tiny bit of money, I want to tell you this, that we don't view Fortified as a profit center for IBHS. I'm not here to sell you products to make our program go. Our members who belong to IBHS fund the program. We don't have to generate revenue to make it go. So anything that we charge is simply to cover the cost of actually making something available. We don't make a dime in profit from it. So for those of you who might be interested in knowing that. So like I said, when you get the survey, if you respond that you're interested in taking a class, that'll give us an opportunity to let you know when we get these exclusive opportunities for Atlas contractors. When we get them finalized and all the details ready to go, we'll be able to get directly to you and let you know that, hey, here's the Atlas Fortified class in your neck of the woods. So keep an eye out for that. Now, if you do decide to come to training, and training is good for everybody in your organization. The owner of the company, the sales team, they can come and they can participate and get the information that we share. But you can also, what we would want to do is get the guys that are actually installing the roofs and those that are the superintendents or the supervisors that are monitoring the work that's getting done, making sure that those guys get in the class as well. So, we like to get a minimum of 15 people in the room to have a class, but we can take as many as 50. And so keep an eye out and keep thinking along those lines as well as these opportunities come up. But once you get into the program and you earn that certification, you do get listed in the directory, as I said, which is a resource for homeowners to find fortified contractors. The other thing that we do is we provide the Fortified Wise Roofer seal. You can use that in your digital and print advertising. We can also help you with signage for your vehicles. We have yard signs that can be put in the front of your projects. Here's an example of one of your peers, Ben Murphy. Ben has been a fortified roofer for a long time down on the Gulf Coast. Ben takes advantage of some of the marketing materials that we have, and because of the volume that Ben does, one of the other opportunities that you have is we recognize folks that deliver high numbers of fortified homes with an annual award. We put out a press release, we give a certificate, and Ben has been able to use that to help drive his business and get coverage even here on in the Atlas universe, in the Atlas community. So this is another thing that's an opportunity for you.
Oh yeah, well we love obviously featuring you guys on the call, our contractors that are doing great things in the community, and Ben Murphy was definitely one of those people taking advantage of the Fortified program. So yeah, we were glad to feature him on Asphalt Life. One question for you, Fred, is about the training platform. You spoke earlier about the link, which I shared out to all of you all. So with our survey that you can fill in and identify if you're interested in definitely attending one of the trainings when it comes to your area. But is the training online, or can you clarify that?
Sure. Yeah, I should have been more transparent about that at the beginning. But yeah, right now our training is offered in person. So Mark, who's our senior roofing expert here at IBHS, he travels all over the country and does in-person training classes. So the time that I mentioned, the format of the class is an in-person class. We provide all of the study materials and the course materials, and then Mark leads the class through approximately 3 hours of instruction, and we talk about important things like what kinds of systems are we looking at, what documentation is required, how do we verify how the installation was completed, and then also some of the ideas of how you can talk about a fortified roof system with your customers. After the 3 hours of instruction, and because of Mark's experience, you can ask any question really about any kind of roof system that you want to install. and Mark can handle it. Then for those who are seeking the certification, there's an exam at the conclusion of that instructor-led session. The exam is multiple choice. It's not terribly lengthy, but it hits on the key points that are covered in the class. And once you attend the class, pass the exam, that's how you become eligible for the final certification. So hopefully that covers the questions that about the format.
Yep. I think that clarifies.
I will say this too, that we are looking, we're always investing in ways that we can make training more accessible. We just want people to have good information and be able to make good decisions. And we're investing in some additional on-demand training resources. And one of the things that as a contractor who's part of our network, you also get notified when we have those other resources that become available. So, Mark and I are working on some other opportunities to get information out to you on demand. So we'll be happy to let you know when those resources become available. So for our friends up in Minnesota and other people around the country who may not live in hurricane areas, so this is what we call the Fortified Risk Map. So we have two primary standards, versions of Fortified that we're talking about today. The first is hurricane. That's the blue area that you can see from the Gulf of Mexico all up to Maine. If you fall in one of those blue areas, hurricane is the standard that you would use. Now, there's not a terribly big difference from the roof perspective in terms of what's required and what's not between hurricane and high wind. The components of the systems that we pay attention to are the same. There are some nuances in terms of nail spacing and how different wind ratings of different products and stuff like that, because we do recognize that Minnesota isn't Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but we do address the same vulnerabilities that are in the roof. So outside of the hurricane area, so anything that's green on the map right now, that's where high wind has been demonstrated. And you can see there's not one place in the country that doesn't or hasn't experienced historically high winds that cause damage to homes. And within the smaller footprint, the light green area, that's where you have a historical record of damaging hail. And if you want to go further and you want to be able to offer something in addition to just wind resistance to your clients, impact rated, class 4 impact rated roof covering is required to get the high wind and hail version of the high wind certification. But that is the only difference between high wind and hail, is the use of the class 4 impact products. So just talking very briefly about the kinds of properties that are eligible for Fortified. So there are some things that the house has to have. We do have to have continuous decking. The decking needs to be at least 7/16 inch thick. If you're re-roofing a home that say it has gap decking, it used to have cedar shingles or something on it that you're replacing. If you have gap decking, we do have some stuff in our standard that you can learn about in the training, where you can emboss or overlay a course of solid sheathing or solid decking. So it's possible to get to where you want to be, but there are some additional steps if you encounter discontinuous decking. We generally work in the Fortified Home program. We generally work with residential uses like single-family detached homes, duplexes, and townhouses, and even in some cases HUD homes. So manufactured homes can be made to be pretty resilient. And as I mentioned, with so much of the damage starting with roof and the water that comes in through damaged roofs, we can do a lot to help people even in really affordable homes. Now, one of the things that does separate us a bit from the other things that are out there is that we do require some third-party certification. So just like with the Mike Holmes program that Atlas has seen a lot of value in and has worked hard to bring that opportunity to you guys, this is very similar to that. This is an opportunity for you to show your customers, hey, we have other folks that come and take a look at how we're putting this stuff on to make sure that it meets the expectations and to get that third party proof that what we've done for you exceeds what the general market is offering to you. And so we work with a network of evaluators. We continue to try to grow that evaluator force. But the evaluator basically collects data from you. You work together. It's a collaborative effort. And we've purposely designed the system so that by working together, it doesn't disrupt your workflow. It doesn't cost you any more time. As long as you are communicating well with the evaluator, you can collect pictures, you can exchange information, and keep the job rolling. But the evaluator comes on the job at least a couple of times during the installation to verify different phases of installation, and then they submit that to IBHS, and then we have a team of auditors that reviews every evaluation that's submitted, and then we issue the certificate. We'll talk real briefly about what are the things that are involved in a fortified roof. And in this drawing, moving from left to right, sort of shows how we build up, and we start from a bare deck. In fortified, we only allow one layer of roof covering on the deck. So there's no embossing over or overlaying different roofing materials. So you strip it down to the deck, you check the condition of the deck. If there's anything that it's rotted or needs to be addressed, you would take care of that. That's nothing new. That's part of what you guys already do. But once you've made sure the deck is solid and in a good substrate for the roofing material, we do take a look at the way the roof deck is fastened. If the existing pattern is 6 and 12, which is really common, we ask you to put an 8D ring shank nail in between the existing fasteners. Basically, we're looking for a nominal spacing of 6 inches on center. Now, there's a few nuances, particularly with gable and roof shapes. You'll learn all about that at the training, and you can see what the nuances are if you go to our website and download some of the free resources we have there that explain what the requirements are. But basically, what we're looking for is a 6-inch on center spacing. Once the deck is nailed, that's off. Then we look for sealing the roof deck, and just like we talked about earlier, we're not talking about sealing from a ventilation perspective. We're talking about making sure that water can't get through the gaps in the decking if the decking gets exposed. And so there's basically 3 ways that we can do that. And in just a minute, I'm going to talk about some Atlas products that can help you meet this requirement. But there's basically 3 methods. You can use tape on the deck, which you saw a picture of before, and combine that with either a qualified synthetic underlayment or a 30-pound heavier weight asphalt product, tape and underlayment. The second system is a single layer of fully adhered membrane, so a peel and stick product over the entire deck. And then the third way you can get there is using 2 layers of 30-pound asphalt impregnated felt. Once you install one of those 3 systems, we give you different options based on your climate zone and cost and how you would like to work with your labor force. That's why those different alternatives are there. Once you get that done, then we pay attention to the edge. We look for a drip edge and making sure that the perimeter of the shingle installation is done in such a way that it resists the wind pulling and pushing at it as it moves across the roof. And then finally, when you've got a high wind rated roof product installed over top of those edge details, we do pay attention to, in the hurricane standard anyhow, we pay attention to the roof mounted attic vents. So if you have ridge vents or off ridge vents, we are looking for those to be TAS 100A compliant. Basically, that means they resist wind driven rain being blown down through them. If you are outside of the hurricane zone and in the high wind zone, you do not have to do anything different with your attic ventilation. The vents anyhow, we only really focus on that in the hurricane area. And so that's really it. So right up for everything from the deck to the final roof covering is what we are concerned about. Let's see here. So here I promised you a couple of products that Atlas offers that meet these requirements. So Summit 60 and Summit 180 are synthetic underlayments that can be combined with tape to provide a sealed roof deck. Atlas also makes a couple of 30-pound felt products, and I'm sitting about 100 feet away at our research center in South Carolina from our massive wind tunnel. And in that wind tunnel right now, we have a house that has Gorilla Guard on it. And we're looking at some different installations of Gorilla Guard to see if there's opportunities that to use that product to deliver a sealed roof deck. So you can use the 30-pound, 2 layers of 30-pound felt, making sure that gets installed with button cap nails. Or you can use the WeatherMaster product, the WeatherMaster Ice and Water 100. It covered the entire deck with that product, and that meets our requirements as well.
So a couple of questions, and Fred, Mark, Paul, feel free to jump in on these specifically. Mike asked, down in Florida, we have to install a 30-pound first, and then you can lay the peel and stick over that. So his question is, would that qualify? Mark, do you want to take that one?
Sure. You know, the state of Florida has some different sections in it, and part of it is the high velocity hurricane zone. I think that's what he's addressing. They do not allow any peel and stick direct to the deck, so you'd have to put some type of an anchor sheet. So the way you could qualify would be by using a 2-ply system of the 30-pound, the type ASTM D226 type 2 could be used in that application. Also, I believe they're allowed to use the tape. If they have a plywood panel type of deck, they could use the tape and then use the synthetic or the 30-pound as well.
Okay, cool.
And one of the advantages we have here is that because Mark's experience has been in Florida, not only as a roofer, but as a code official in South Florida, one of the opportunities that we have is if somebody has questions like that are specific, we can reach out to Mark and talk it through and find a good solution that works for you and that can deliver the results that you're trying to deliver.
Yeah, Mark is a great resource, and having him on hand at the training, I think, is invaluable, especially in a market like Florida, the Carolinas, along the coast. So I couldn't agree more, Fred. We did have one other question about peel and stick. If we're using a peel and stick or adhering underlayment, isn't the zero permeability of the product an issue?
So that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked. So that's one of the reasons why we have 3 different options. So there are some climate zones where peel and stick doesn't make the best sense. So basically, a good rule of thumb is if you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, peel and stick may not be the ideal choice if you're not, if the roof isn't also being evaluated for how it's going to ventilate. So you'll notice that we didn't talk about how much CFM and how much attic ventilation you need. That's outside of what we're looking for. So we do encourage you to consider the different options that are available to help guide the homeowner to pick the right system for their particular situation. To be perfectly honest with you, it's one of the reasons why the 2-layer method is there as well. Is it does address the permeability issues in terms of ventilation from the attic to the exterior. Generally speaking, if you get south of the Mason-Dixon line, you don't have the same kinds of variability in climate and humidity throughout the year, so it's not as significant an issue. But it brings up a great point of why we have options. We're not telling you have to use peel and stick. We're just saying that's one of the things that can be used.
Mm-hmm. So multiple options and multiple ways to get there to the qualification metrics, but lots of different options on which market and what types of products will work best.
That's true. That's correct.
Okay. One question about high winds. So with the fortified system, how does it handle high winds that climb the rafters through the eaves? Instead of evenly leaving the roof, it's going to escape through the weakest point. So how does the system approach, high winds, and does that go back to the ceilings of the deck with the tape, Mark and Fred?
Yeah. Mark, you want to take a stab, or you want me to handle that one?
Well, so if we're looking at the roof application itself, as Fred said earlier, that we're looking for a high rated wind type of assembly. So the primary roof, which is taking all the brunt of everything, is going to be attached in such a way that it's going to meet the straight line wind that the code requires for that particular area and the wind speed. So that's what we're looking for the manufacturer's product on the outside. If you're talking about from underneath, that's a ventilation issue that Fred talked about earlier. But any roof system that we allow in Fortified is going to have to meet the requirements for that particular area based on the code and ASC 7.
Yeah, and just to tag on to that, so if you're allowing air in through the eave, there's generally a place for it to be released, either through off-ridge vents or ridge vents, and so that's an opportunity for the air that's moving in to be able to move out. But it's also one of the reasons why, one of the very first things that we look at is how is that roof deck attached, and we are supplementing how that the conventional roofs are attached by making the roof deck fasteners facing closer together and using ring shank nail products, because in our research we've been able to see that ring shank nail products can double the uplift resistance of that connection. So we recognize that roofs are seeing high loads and high pressures, and we want to make sure that there are opportunities to keep that deck down so that it doesn't come off all in one piece. We've seen that plenty, and I don't make light of it. I'm just we've seen it where roofs are well put together, but come off in big sheets because some other weaker component failed.
Yeah. Paul, did you have a question?
Yep, I sure did. Mark and Fred, we talked a lot about tape, and as you saw with those approved products from Atlas, we don't offer a tape. So, I guess the next logical question would be: is there an approved tape that you guys would recommend, or what is the ASTM standard of type of tape that they would be looking for to seal their deck?
Sure. So that's a great question, Paul. And so if you choose to use a combination of an Atlas product and tape, the first thing we do is make sure that the contractor checks that there's no compatibility issues, because there's lots of tapes that are out there. So we use ASTM 1970 as a standard for mod bit tapes that can be applied to the deck. And one of the resources that's for free on our website is we have an infographic there that lists a handful of different tapes in the different categories that we recognize. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's an opportunity to look and see for products that might be available in your area that are and start your research. The other tape, if somebody doesn't want to use a mod bit tape or sees some other options, acrylic tapes, meaning AMA 711 type 3 tapes. Those are high heat. They resist the heat that's on the roof. The acrylic tapes can also be used, but again, you'll learn more about that in the training, and you can look at information about qualifying tapes on our website if you're interested in that system.
Yeah, great. Well, I think we definitely got some technical questions that we were able to get out the way, and I think there's a lot of more information that you can definitely get from the training. So if you haven't jumped on that link to fill out the survey, give your feedback, and then say you're interested, please do that. So
okay, so just again, we mentioned that edge detailing is one of the places that we also pay a lot of attention. Atlas has some products there that can be used. The ProCut starter strip, which does not have its own adhesive on the underside of it, can be used. It has to be placed within mastic or roof cement. If you don't like that option, Atlas also has a ProCut 6XR peel and stick starter roll that can be used at the eave and going up the rake if you've got a gable in or a gable shaped roof. And then finally, the shingle products. you know, we just took a few of the products that that Atlas makes that meet these requirements. But basically, anything that's ASTM D3161 Class F or ASTM D7158 Class H, those products will meet our wind resistance requirement for the roof cover. Now let's talk a little bit about, you know, what are some of the other things besides peace of mind about avoiding stress and financial loss that homeowners can get. And you know, this is important because those of you who are thinking about this, there are incentives that are coming along at a fairly brisk pace as far as we're concerned. I mean, it is a little bit like watching glaciers move, but we'd love to see it be even faster. But there are incentives, and roofers hold the key. No person who has a fortified home can get a certificate and access these incentives unless they start with getting a fortified roof. So you guys are the gatekeepers. They have to get a fortified roof first, then they can go up from there. So the states that you see here with the money signs next to them, Alabama, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and North Carolina, they have financial incentives that if you have a home that has a fortified roof or a fortified designation of another type, you have to get annual insurance premium discounts in those states. They're not uniform, meaning that they're not the same in every state, and in some cases, in some states, you know, they can vary from county to county. But just to give you an example, the incentives can run anywhere from a modest 10 to 15% to as much as 55% for a fortified gold home. And remember, every home, whether it's fortified gold, fortified silver, or fortified roof, has to have a fortified roof. So just give you an idea, we've got more than 10,000 homes down there in Alabama. We've got several hundred homes in Mississippi. North Carolina will see their inventory of fortified homes double this year as a result of a couple programs I'll mention here in just a second. Oklahoma is an inland state that has fortified credit requirements for property insurance there. And Texas and Florida are two states that we are actively pursuing, and you'll start to see some movement there. That doesn't mean the rest of the country isn't important. It absolutely is. There are individual carriers, insurance carriers, that have incentives across the United States. We have one right now. One of our members is Liberty Mutual. Liberty has a national program for any roof that they buy anywhere in the continental United States. Damaged by high winds, hail, hurricanes, anyone, they are advocating and promoting a sealed roof deck and talking about fortified. So it is, I think, a pretty good assumption that you're going to start hearing your customers asking, you know, what is this sealed roof deck? Can you help me with this? What is a fortified roof? Because our member companies are out there starting to use fortified in different ways. Wanted to share that with you, talk to you a little bit too about North Carolina in particular, if you happen to be there. North Carolina is leading the way in the United States with the number of incentives that are available. So in the 18 coastal counties that border the Atlantic Ocean, anybody with a fortified home gets an annual discount. The only way they can get that discount is they have to be able to produce a certificate that we issue. But anybody with a certificate gets a discount every year on their property insurance. We are seeing hundreds of homes being re-roofed as a result of Florence. Because of that, NCIUA, which is a wind pool insurer of 70% of the houses out on the coast, if a homeowner has a qualifying coverage, this is a coverage that they offer to their customers for free. Basically, it says that if they had roof damage, 50% damage or greater, requiring the roof to be replaced, and they have this endorsement, they gave people $5,000 to cover the difference from a standard roof to a fortified roof. So we're seeing hundreds of homes being re-roofed as a result of that. And in addition, NCIUA also brought out this grant program in advance of this hurricane season, where they, in those same areas right along the coast, they are giving $6,000 grants. All the people have to do when they apply is say that they're getting ready to re-roof, that they're going to re-roof fortified, And once they get the certificate, they get a $6,000 check if their grant application was approved. And that $6,000 can be applied to either the fortified upgrades or any expense associated with the roof. And in some cases, we've got some folks that are coming through with roofs small enough that $6,000 is paying for the entire roof. So anyway, that North Carolina is leading the way, and I just wanted to make sure I took the opportunity to share with you, anybody roofers from that area, what's possible. This is just another map zooming in on North Carolina. The red territories, so the red one 110 and the orange one 120. That's where those $5,000 and $6,000 incentives are available there on the coast. Just a couple of other housekeeping things. Sure.
Hey Fred, just I just got a question for you. You know, I understand insurance, you know, incentives and you know, local grants and stuff like that. But you know, when our contractors are talking to homeowners in their kitchen, you know, what is the out-of-pocket expense increase that they would from a typical roof, notwithstanding the insurance discounts or the grants that they can get? And that's certainly you know, an important part of that conversation if it gets paid for by local grants or premium discounts over, you know, a number of years. That, you know, that's extremely important. But, you know, what kind of cost would they expect up front?
Well, and it really depends on the combination of things that are being offered to them, right? So, you know, typically we see the cost can run anywhere from around 18 cents to say 25 cents a square foot of roof area, but it really depends. I mean, it depends on does the roof need to be re-nailed? You know, not every roof does need to be re-nailed. Which sealed roof deck system is chosen? Is it the tape and underlayment, or is it the fully adhered membrane? That can make a big difference in the final cost. But I can tell you that there's you know, as I said, 18 to 25 cents covers basically the renailing and the sealed roof deck upgrades to the tape and underlayment level. But we have seen folks that use, say, the sealed roof deck, the fully adhered membrane. It can run, you know, somewhere around $1,500 to $3,000 for the roof upgrade. And the big driver in that is the underlayment. So it really depends on the way different products are put together and to achieve the goal.
Yep, absolutely. And you know, those increases can also be, you know, I mean, it's nothing in comparison if you have an event and have to pay your premiums on your insurance. It could be more, you know, it could be more money than that. So it's not so it looks like a pretty good trade-off, actually. It looks like a great deal.
Yeah, the payoff, I mean, people may ask that question. And so in most cases, the payback period is less than 5 years. And that's where, you know, just to bring it back to where we are at this point of the presentation, a fortified designation is valid for 5 years, and it can be renewed every 5 years. The primary thing that we're concerned about is what is the condition of the roof? How is it weathering? And at the time where it's weathering too far to be able to repel water and resist wind, that's when we would require it to be replaced. So there's an opportunity to earn residual business, you know, at certain intervals. But that 5 year payback period. So most folks that are doing this, we would see a payback in less than that first year, that first term. Some of them will see a payback in the first year. And like you said, I mean, we had in North Carolina in particular, pre-Florence, we had a couple of hundred roofs that were impacted by Florence. Only one had a substantial failure, and we found out that there was a low slope section of the roof that wasn't properly installed that led to some water intrusion. But of those, you know, that was the only one in Florence that we had that experienced a high loss. So you're right. You know, spending $1,500 on a roof upgrade to avoid that kind of damage is something. If people knew about it, they'd make that choice. I think most times.
Great,
Awesome.
thank you.
We are right at the mark, Fred. So, what last things do you have to share with us?
Yeah, so the last thing is just a reminder that, you know, take a look at that survey. Let us know if you're interested in getting more training, because we can go into these things in much more detail. We do have some free resources online that I want to direct your attention to. If you go to fortifiedhome.org/roofers, The standards are there. We have a series of really short videos that feature Mark telling you about the different phases of the roof installation. And over on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that we have some cut sheets for these things that are available in both English and Spanish. So please take advantage of those free resources, and we hope that we'll see you in a Fortified class soon.
Awesome. And if you haven't done it yet, I'm just going to add in the chat queue a link so that you can have access to the webinar survey. Go ahead and fill that survey out. We really appreciate everybody who jumped on today. And be sure to let us know if you are interested in attending one of the Fortified trainings that are sponsored through Atlas. If not, you can always go to the fortifiedhome.org/roofers website, click on the roofers link, and you'll see the trainings. You'll also see under that tab, second to last tab on the right, the training link where you can go on and let us know that you were on the Atlas webinar and that you are interested in taking the training. So more information to come on this. Stay tuned to your emails for the link so that you can review this and share it with your teammates. But we appreciate everybody who jumped on, and make it a great rest of your week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Hey, Tiara, did you want to stay on the line, or you want to wrap it up? Or maybe Tiara's already gone.